Have you ever felt that strange pressure in your chest and just kind of wondered, what is that? Well, today we're going to pull back the curtain on something called angina pectoris. And look, it's not just some random chest pain, it's a very specific, very urgent message from your heart. And understanding that message, that's absolutely crucial. So let's get into it.
Right, so that feeling, that squeeze or pressure in your chest, it isn't just a random ache. Think of it more like your heart sending up a flare, signaling that it's in trouble, that it's struggling. This is the warning shot. It's the critical alert that goes off before a full-blown crisis hits.
So what exactly is this warning? To really get it, we need to look under the hood and see what's actually happening inside your body when you feel that pressure. What is angina really?
Okay, at its core, angina pectoris is all about a temporary oxygen shortage for the heart muscle. The two key words you have to hang on to here are temporary and shortage. The medical term for this is transient myocardial ischemia. Now, what's so fascinating and so important is what this implies. Unlike a heart attack, this process doesn't cause heart muscle cells to die. It's a reversible state of distress. It's a warning, not the main event.
The whole thing really just boils down to a simple critical imbalance, supply and demand. Your heart muscle is working its tail off, and it's demanding oxygen to keep going. But for some reason, the blood supply just can't keep up. And when demand is greater than supply, the heart muscle protests. And that protest, well, that's what we feel as angina.
So that leads to the next question, right? What's causing this oxygen bottleneck? If the heart needs more, why in the world isn't it getting it? Let's trace this problem right back to its source.
And here we go. This image shows us the number one culprit. On the left, you see a healthy coronary artery. It's wide open, blood is just flowing through, no problem. But look at the one on the right. You see all that gunk? That's the result of atherosclerosis, a slow buildup of fatty stuff we call plaque. And that plaque is narrowing the artery, creating the very bottleneck we were just talking about, and choking off that vital, oxygen-rich blood flow.
So how much narrowing does it take to actually cause a problem? Well, clinically, the alarm bells of angina don't usually start to ring until that blockage gets past about 70%. See, at that point, blood flow might be just enough when you're resting on the couch. But the moment you get up and exert yourself, climb some stairs, run for the bus, your heart's oxygen demand just skyrockets, and that narrowed artery, it simply can't keep up. And if we zoom in for a closer look, you can see what this plaque is actually made of. Fats, fibrous tissue, all sorts of cells. When the heart muscle is starved for oxygen because of this clog, it has to switch to a less efficient fuel source. And doing that creates byproducts like lactate that actually irritate the nerve endings in the heart. That irritation is what triggers that classic feeling of pain and pressure. Okay, so we know why it's happening, but it's just as important to be able to recognize the signals when they show up. So how does this warning actually feel? What are the key things you should be on the lookout for? This is so important. Not all angina is the same. On one side, you have stable angina. This is the predictable kind. It's caused by that fixed plaque, and it reliably shows up when you exert yourself and then goes away when you rest. But then you've got unstable angina, and this is a whole different ballgame. It's a true medical emergency. This happens when that plaque ruptures and a blood clot forms, suddenly choking off the artery. This can happen even when you're resting, and it's a huge red flag that a heart attack might be imminent.
So let's make sure we can spot these classic signs. People often describe it not as a sharp pain, but more of a deep pressure, a tightness, or a squeezing feeling. And that discomfort can spread. It might radiate out to the left arm, up into the jaw, or the neck. For stable angina, the pattern is key. It's triggered by exertion, it usually lasts less than 20 minutes, and, this is a big one, it gets better when you stop and rest.
Okay, so your heart has sent the signal. You've recognized it. The next step is all about answering that call. So, how do doctors respond? How do they manage angina? Medical management really has two clear goals that go hand in hand. The first one is kind of like firefighting. During an attack, the top priority is immediate relief. You got to put out the fire by stopping the pain and getting blood flow back to normal. The second goal is all about prevention. It's about building a shield to stop future attacks by managing the root cause of the problem. For that immediate firefighting relief, this is the classic go-to medication. It's a tiny little nitroglycerin tablet that you place under your tongue, and it works incredibly fast. It's a vasodilator, which is just a fancy way of saying it widens your blood vessels. This gives the heart more room to breathe, reduces its workload, and helps get that oxygen supply and demand back in balance, usually easing the pain in just a few minutes. Now, for more serious blockages, sometimes medication just isn't enough on its own.
A really common long-term fix is a procedure called percutaneous coronary intervention, or PCI. As you can see here, a catheter is used to guide a tiny balloon into the narrowed artery. Then they inflate it, which pushes all that plaque out of the way. And they'll often leave a tiny mesh tube called a stent in there to prop the artery open, making sure blood can flow like it's supposed to.
And that brings us to our final, and I think maybe our most important section. We've been calling angina a warning, but what exactly is it warning you about? Let's get crystal clear on the difference between this warning signal and the crisis it's trying to prevent.
This right here is the single most important thing to take away from all this. Angina is a temporary and reversible lack of oxygen. When you rest or take your medicine, blood flow comes back and there is no permanent damage to the heart muscle. A heart attack, on the other hand, is a crisis. That's when the blood flow is completely blocked and it leads to the irreversible death of heart muscle. That damage is permanent. You don't get those cells back.
Let me just read this in its clinical terms, straight from the source material, because it's just that critical. Angina involves reversible ischemia, whereas myocardial infarction involves irreversible myocardial cell death. Angina is the smoke alarm. The heart attack, that's the house on fire.
So you see, angina isn't the disease itself, it's a symptom of the disease. And in a way, it's a beautifully designed, even if it's uncomfortable, early warning system. It gives you a chance to act, to get treatment, to make changes before that temporary distress becomes permanent damage. The only question left is it time to listen to what your heart is trying to tell you?